It was just another Tuesday morning when I was walking down the street toward the VA clinic. The sun was high in the sky, casting its harsh rays over the Houston construction site on the corner. Sweat dripped down my neck, but I was used to the heat by now. It was the kind of heat that made you feel like the air itself was trying to choke you. But I was used to the heat. And the stairs. Yeah, I'd gotten used to those too. I pulled my Marine cap down a little lower, trying to hide the way my jaw clenched. The prosthetic leg I'd been wearing for the past few years wasn't something I was ashamed of. No, it wasn't that. It was just the way people looked at it, like it was some kind of joke, like they didn't know what it took to wear it. It's like they saw the leg and not the story behind it. The blood, the sweat, the hours of pain, and the fact that every time I put my foot down, it was another step forward. But they didn't know that. They just saw it as something to mock. I was almost past the site when I heard it. "Yo, check out RoboCop," some kid yelled from the group of construction workers. The foreman, a burly guy with a beer gut and a permanent scowl, heard it too. He saw his opportunity for some fun. "Someone call the VA? We got a lost one." His voice boomed across the site. My eyes stayed straight ahead. I didn't respond, didn't even flinch. But I could feel the heat of their stares. I could feel them laughing behind me, talking about how I was probably just faking it for the benefits. Another voice cut through the laughter. "Hey lady, wrong turn to the welfare office." A few chuckles followed, but I kept walking. My grip on the Marine cap tightened. I wasn't going to let them see how much it hurt. It was all I could do to keep walking, keep my head high. I had learned a long time ago that civilians didn't understand. They didn't get it. They didn't know what it felt like to carry a wounded comrade through fire, to run toward the sound of bullets, because that was the only way to save someone's life. They didn't understand the horror of hearing an IED go off and knowing, for a split second, that you might not make it out. They never lived that. But they sure seemed to think they had the right to laugh at it. I didn't notice the woman with the phone at first, but she was there, grinning as she started recording. "This is gonna be so funny," she whispered to her friend. Bet she never even saw combat. The foreman didn't let up. Probably heard herself falling off a bar stool. More laughter. The kind that cuts you deep. The kind you can't escape. The kind that makes you want to disappear. But then there was a shift. I didn't see it at first, but I felt it. A presence. Something different. A car pulled up, black SUVs, 3 of them, blocking the entrance to the site. The workers stopped laughing. Their eyes went wide, their faces drained of color. It wasn't just any care, it was military. You could tell. When they stepped out, their movements were fluid, precise, like they had been doing this their whole lives. It was the kind of presence you only get from people who've been through hell and back. And standing at the front was someone I recognized. Lieutenant James Carter. I hadn't seen him in years, but there was no mistaking that trident tattoo on his forearm. It was the tattoo of a Navy SEAL. My SEALs. He didn't speak at first. He just looked at Medho's deep blue eyes that had seen too much, but still held a quiet respect. Then he looked at the foreman, the guy who had mocked me. He didn't say much. He didn't need to. He walked straight toward the man like a predator zeroing in on its target. The foreman froze. "What's the big deal, man?" he stammered. "It was just a joke." Carter didn't raise his voice, but when he spoke, every word hit like a punch. "The big deal is," he said, his voice cold and controlled, "you just humiliated Sergeant Rachel Evans, Silver Star recipient, 2 combat tours, the Marine who saved my team, and 17 civilians in Fallujah." The foreman went pale. He looked around, like he was hoping someone would help him out. But no one did. They all just stared, frozen in place. Carter kept going, his voice getting louder. "You think this is funny? You think mocking her makes you a man? You just embarrassed someone who saved lives, who ran 200 meters through open ground under enemy fire to get to me and my team. And when the shrapnel came flying, it was meant for us, not her." But she didn't stop. She kept going, even when it cost her everything below the knee. I felt a lump form in my throat. The words Carter was speaking, they weren't just about me. They were about every man and woman who had ever served, who had ever been underestimated, who had ever carried their scars like a badge of honor. They were about everyone who had been told they didn't belong because they were different. The foreman's face was as red as a tomato now. The crowd had gone dead silent. Even the machinery had stopped. It was like the entire world had paused for a second. But Carter wasn't finished. You thought she was just a joke. But you don't know what it means to be a Marine. You don't know what it means to make the kind of sacrifices she has. And I'm here to make sure you understand. Then, Carter did something I never expected. He pulled out a small challenge coin from his pocket, the Navy SEAL Brotherhood coin. He handed it to me, his voice softening for a moment. You earned this, Rachel. And you've always been one of us. For a second, I couldn't move. I couldn't think. I took the coin from his hand, my fingers trembling. The crowd that had once mocked me was now watching in silence. Some of them even looked ashamed. And then came the apologies. The foreman stepped forward, red-faced and stumbling over his words. I'm sorry, Sergeant Evans. I was wrong. His voice cracked. I didn't say anything. I didn't need to. But one by one, the workers started to step forward. They removed their hard hats, showing respect, not just to me, but to the whole idea of what it means to serve. Thank you for your service, one said quietly. Another said, I'm sorry we acted like that. And that was when I realized that something had shifted, something profound. It wasn't just about the apology. It was about the lesson they'd learned, about respect, about understanding. And then there was the young girl, one of the ones who had been recording, thinking this would be another VY Ral VY Deo. She walked up to me, her head down in shame. Can I get a picture with you, Sergeant? She asked. I want to post about real heroes. I nodded, not saying a word, but for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like I had to hide. I didn't feel like I had to apologize for the way I walked or the leg I wore. That day, everything changed. The site became more than just a building project. It became a symbol. And the honor brick, the one they put at the entrance, it became a place where people stopped to reflect not just on what it means to serve, but what it means to be human. And as I spoke at the National Veterans Conference months later, standing there with my prosthetic leg VY Cybele, I thought about that day, about how something as small as respect could change everything. Now, I'm asking you, what do you think? What does respect mean to you? Have you ever stood up for someone who was different? Or been the one who was misunderstood? Drop a comment below, share your thoughts, because the conversation's just getting started. Let's make sure that every brick we build from here on out is built on respect.